Hi, this is Jerry Edmon, and I want to welcome you to A Successful Life from the Jerry Edmon Podcast Network. Listen, as I get started, I want to ask a huge favor of you. Would you please make sure to check us out on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and Spotify? And once you're there, please don't forget to let us know what you think by rating and reviewing us. I would really love to hear your thoughts concerning the topics that I'm bringing to you. Now, today, we're going to be talking about anger. And I'll tell you what, as we begin to talk about anger, you got to realize that it's much more extensive than just the one-dimensional problem that people identify as anger. It's more than just a one-digit problem. Anger, however it starts and whatever it becomes, it takes you someplace. And I'm just telling you something, it becomes much more than just that event right there. And I think today is going to really help you. I want to just encourage you to sit back for a few moments, take a few moments with me, because I'm going to take you on this process that I really believe is going to answer a lot of questions maybe about your life and the lives of your family members or maybe your friends. I remember I had a friend one time that had such phenomenal potential. He really was an amazing individual, but he couldn't control his anger. It was like every time he would get bumped, he would just blow up and just sabotage his friendships, his future, his jobs. And people used to just question, what is the matter? What's causing this? What is it that's so bad that you would sabotage your future by such erratic behavior? And really, as we look around today, we can certainly say that we've never seen a time when there was so much what we would identify as anger and frustration and rage as there is today. I was actually looking at some statistics from the AAA Foundation, and let me just kind of read over a couple of these with you. It says nearly 80% of all the drivers express significant anger, aggression, or road rage from behind the wheel at least once in the past year. Now, this was according to a new study released by the AAA Foundation of Traffic Safety. And let me just continue to read on here. It says that the most alarming findings suggest that approximately 8 million U.S., now it's talking about here in the United States, 8 million U.S. drivers engaged in extreme, this is what they call extreme examples of road rage. And that's including purposefully ramming another vehicle or getting out of the car to confront another driver, which is in itself insane. You can take some little tiny event that just escalates to the point that you get out of the car and you get killed or you get damaged in some way over something that was insignificant. But fact is, it was nothing, but you became angry and it became something and destroyed your life. Now, the director of the research at the AAA Foundation of Traffic Safety said this. He said, inconsiderate driving, bad traffic, and the daily stresses of life can transform minor frustrations into dangerous road rage. Far too many drivers are losing themselves in what he called the heat of the moment and lashing out in ways that can turn deadly. Now listen, I know of situations where that has happened. Maybe you do too. But the problem is, and this is what they said here, is that a significant number of drivers are reported engaging in angry and aggressive behaviors over the last year. And according to the study's estimates, and here's what they gave us, they said what they talked about, purposefully targeting someone else while in your car, 51%. That was 104 million drivers. Yelling at another driver, 47%. 95 million drivers. Let me see. What's another one here? Honking to show annoyance or anger, which is simply not. It's an expression of a kind of an explosion. You know what I'm saying? 45%. They said 91 million drivers making angry gestures. Some of you know what that is. 33%, that's 67 million drivers trying to block another vehicle from changing lanes. Have you ever seen that take place? 24%. They said 49 million drivers engaged in that. Cutting off another vehicle on purpose, 12%. 24 million drivers. I'm just, something stupid. Seriously, someone is going to try to get in my lane, and so I'm going to cut them off. And so anger and rage arises as a result of that. People get killed. People get hurt. Dangerous situations happen when you're in a vehicle. Well, they said 12% do that. 24 million drivers getting out of the vehicle to confront another driver. 4%, that's 7.6 million drivers. I cannot begin to express to you how dangerous that is. The amount of people who carry guns, or what, you just don't know what you're getting into. Why would you do that? Why would you go there? I mean, stop and think about that just for a few moments. But the fact is you get angry, and then suddenly you get rage begins to come out of it, and you react in kind of an explosion. You step into an arena that wasn't worth the event. You know what I'm saying? And then the final one that they gave was bumping or ramming another vehicle on purpose. They said 3%. 5.7 million drivers did that last year. Wow. That's unbelievable. And then one more little statistic here that it gave us said 1 in 5 people, 20% of the people, say that they have ended a relationship or a friendship with someone because of how they behaved when they were angry. I mean, where does the cost end for you? What's it going to take? Well, that's just the way I am. I'm Irish. Oh, give me a great big break. Most of you have never been out of Detroit. You've never been out of Texas. What do you mean I'm Irish? You're not Irish. You just have got your emotions out of control, and it literally is destroying your life. And the price that people are paying is loss of jobs, loss of family, loss of reputation, and even loss of freedom because they went to jail or something like that over something that started very minor. Come on, man, something little that just escalated. I've seen people in a rage literally drove to the point of murder. I mean, what is the matter? What in the world is going on that you would go there? And I don't think I'm off base on this. I don't ever remember a time when there was so much wholesale anger in play as there is today. And people are acting crazy. So angry. Loss of control. Something that started with some little tiny event simply exploded to the point that it's destroyed everything. And then you're left with nothing but a bunch of ashes. And most of the time, where are you going to go with that? Well, it's somebody else's fault. I'm going to just say this to you right now, baby. Listen to me. When you got a problem with anger, that ain't anybody else's problem. That's your problem. You have a problem. And you let your emotions get out of control. And this is what I want to talk to you about today, because I want to tell you how it starts. I want to tell you how it starts and what you can do about it. Anger. See, I believe this is an issue that can cause the success of your life to completely stall out. I mean, maybe you're on the road to success and then boom, you pull some stunt like that and you lose your job, you lose your mate, you lose your friend. Come on. Maybe you've got a problem with anger. Maybe that's you. Maybe it's somebody else in your family. And it's possible that if you understood it better, you could get a handle on it. That's where we're going to go today. So I want you just to lay back with me for just a couple of moments. Let me talk to you. Let me share with you what I feel is happening in your life while this is taking place. I want to tell you how it works, and I want to tell you what you can do about it, okay? So let's do this. Let's define anger. Let's break this down. Let's look at where it starts and where it goes, because I really believe there's a misunderstanding, a misinterpretation of the word anger, because it isn't what you think. Anger is not what you think. See, most problems start with anger. At one time it was anger, but it's become something else. It's not angry anymore. And maybe the description of anger that fits our society, but I'm telling you, it's misrepresented. If you'll listen to me for just a moment, I want to answer the question that will really help you and your family, okay? Anger, where does it come from? Well, in its simplest form, it comes from disorder. I mean, that's basically it. Disorder produces something in you called anger. It's that simple. Now, that might surprise you, but anger was designed to be a good thing, not a bad thing. That's why I'm saying we got to redefine this. Now, don't hang up on me. I'm going to teach you something. I want to help you with this. Here's what anger is. We're going to have to redefine it. Anger is a short-term emotional adrenaline burst that helps you solve your problems now. So anger, by nature, is a problem solver. I mean, have you ever seen something that was out of order, and it's almost like something had to kind of come up on the inside of you to energize you enough to fix it? I mean, I just can't go fix that. I can't just go take care of that as it is. It's like almost you got to get angry about it. You know what I'm saying? Now, let me give you a parallel here. We all know what adrenaline in the body is. Adrenaline comes on you in a moment of danger, and it empowers you to change what you're dealing with. But you know what? It didn't stay with you but just a moment. I've heard stories of people who had this adrenaline rush in a time of danger that literally was so physically empowered that they could literally move a vehicle or something like that. But see, the adrenaline didn't stay with them all day. It didn't stay with them for a week. It was something that hit them for just a moment, and then suddenly it was gone. And it empowered them to take care of a problem. This is what anger is. Anger is not intended to stay with you for a long time. It is there by nature as a problem solver, okay? It empowers you to change what you're dealing with right now. It's not rage. Anger is not rage. It's not even loud. Anger's not yelling. It's not long-term. Again, it's an emotional adrenaline. Let me put it this way. Anger is the tool that God gave you to overcome the fear, to empower you to correct yourself and others when you or they get out of order. And here's how it works. I see a disorder, and it causes an energy to rise up in me that we would understand as anger, and it rises up in me, and it empowers me to say something that I would never say. I mean, normally speaking, I never would stand up and say that, but it was almost like I got angry about that. I said, something's got to be done. And I said it. See what that's anger right there. It is something that empowers you to have courage to say what needs to be said. That's anger. But that's where it stops. That's where it should stop. Because once you say something, that should take care of it. And the consequences that follow are what we would know as wrath. Now, see, that's another word that needs to be corrected, because we see wrath, at least in this context, we see it wrong. Wrath in this context simply means consequences. When you have anger about something, there should be consequences that follow. See, wrath doesn't mean that you go through with a club beating on people. It's not spontaneous emotions that I'm screaming and yelling. Wrath is consequences that have been thought through. I'm angry about something, and so here's what I'm empowered to say has to be done. Consequences should always be on the table for those who won't correct themselves. Your disorder has caused anger to rise up in me, so, hey, baby, we're going to set this thing in order. See? And if you won't adjust to the pattern, then you're going to experience my wrath. And I don't even have to be mad about that, but I'm just telling you something. If you don't do this, this is what we're going to do. See, that is the framework of what anger should look like. Now, if your anger looks different from that, then I want to say you're not angry anymore. You've left anger and you've let it become something else. Anger is the emotion that empowers us to change the things that are out of order. It's the righteous and godly response to anything that is wrong or destructive. So I guess what I'm saying is there's nothing wrong with anger. There's nothing wrong with it. As a matter of fact, it's a good thing. Can I give you a Bible scripture? Would you believe me if I could back that up with a Bible scripture? Ephesians chapter 4, verse 26 says, "Be angry and do not sin in your anger, and don't let the sun go down on your wrath." Now, again, angry is a good thing. It's going to fix something. And the wrath is simply consequences. And what it's saying is, don't let it extend beyond the life of the moment. Take care of it right now. Get it over with right now. But see, most anger is misdirected. Oh, I rammed somebody's car because they're making me late for work. Well, I screamed and yelled and broke something because my spouse is divorcing me, or I was abused as a child, or I was passed over for promotion, so I just burned the place down. Well, I had an unexplained tragedy. You've heard all of these things. I'm facing threatening sicknesses or financial ruin, and therefore I'm just blowing up. My life is out of control. And all of these may seem like valid reasons, but that is not the expression of anger. Here's the problem. Most anger is allowed to live beyond the life of the event. And that's when you know it's wrong. And as a result, frustration, strife, and unforgiveness come into play. When anger moves outside of its boundaries, it can be destructive. I'm just going to tell you something. It'll destroy families. It'll destroy careers. And it's very unfortunate what takes place because of anger that has left its boundaries and become something else. It said, be angry, but don't violate the law of that anger, and then deal with things, and don't let the sun go down on your wrath. In other words, deal with it right now and let it go. But how many people do you know that got angry and they can't let it go? They just can't. So here's what I want to do is I want to show you right now the evolution of anger. This is how it works. This is how it starts in its innocence and how it turns into something very destructive. How in the world did that person come to the place that they are literally beating on people or running their cars into someone? What took them to that point? I'm going to show you. It's a process. Here's where it starts. It starts with you see something wrong, and anger, the problem solver, arises in your heart. You're supposed to deal with that right now. Right now, before the sun goes down. You should deal with it. Well, sometimes anger runs into problems that won't be dealt with. People won't change, or you can't change it, and it turns to frustration. So most people, they're not dealing with anger anymore. It's frustration that they're dealing with. They can't do anything about it. How many things do you have right now in your life that is wrong and you can't do anything about it, so you're just frustrated? You're frustrated. You're just sitting there and you're just cooking and all of that. I mean, it's just you're seething over it. You're cooking. I'm frustrated. Well, see, you've left anger and now you become frustrated. Well, when frustration runs its course, it becomes rage and you become mean. That's when you start breaking things. I'm just telling you, that's when you run your car into someone else. Started as a little problem that happened, and then suddenly it turned to frustration and went from frustration to rage. And now you're doing things that you would never do. Well, it doesn't even stop at rage. Where it goes from rage, being mean, it becomes bitter. Something bitter is something that's just, that's even, you think of your taste buds when you think of bitter. It's bitter to me. You just cook in its juices. All of a sudden now I'm so frustrated over that situation, and you can see it in my eyebrows. You can see it on my face. I'm bitter about this thing. Well, then it turns from bitterness to hate. You create a toxic environment that's poison. I mean, we have a lot of people today that are just living lives of hate. And everywhere they go, it's just a toxic environment, a poisonous environment that they live in. But it doesn't stop with hate. It goes from hate to evil. And when you take on evil, you become dangerous. Now that's a process. Here it is. Anger, frustration. Frustration turns to rage. Rage turns to bitterness. Bitterness, after a little while, just turns to hate. And then hate, when it finishes its process, becomes evil. Wow. That's a mouthful right there. But can you see? It started with one thing, but it didn't stop there. It kept on going. But anger, in its proper context, in its proper place, it's a breakthrough emotion. It's a good thing. It's like adrenaline. It empowers you to break through barriers. I mean, the results of righteous anger is the forceful correction of that which is out of order and destructive to your life. See, we have a misunderstanding, and therefore we don't recognize it, and it slips by us. And quite frankly, we don't think it's anger until it becomes rage. And that's not anger anymore at all. It used to be anger. It started as anger, but it's not anymore. I mean, like the pressure cooker that blows up, we just carry this unresolved problems until we can't hold it anymore, and we blow up. We scream and we yell. And people make the statement, they say, why are you so angry? But see, that's a misdiagnosis. And when we see anger manifest in most situations, it isn't anger at all. It's the next step beyond anger, which is frustration or rage, violence. And most people are dealing with frustration, which comes from that unresolved anger. And if that course continues, it breaks out with disease, emotional disease, and it'll hit you even in your own body with sickness and stress-related emotional problems. I'm just telling you something. Unresolved anger becomes frustration, and eventually that'll come to the place that it will break out through stress in your life, and that stress will kill you. Wow. I mean, this is powerful. That's what anger does. Again, and please forgive me if I'm being redundant, but I feel like this needs to be explained. Unresolved anger becomes frustration. Frustration turns to rage. Rage turns to bitterness. Bitterness turns to hatred. And finally, hatred turns to evil. That's incredible, isn't it? Now, let me tell you real quickly just a moment concerning this frustration. Frustration is unresolved anger. I can't fix it. I can't fix this. Television news produces that. You look at something that you can see the politics on television, and you just get frustrated. I mean, do you hear people talk? They're frustrated because they can't do anything about it. I mean, they can vote, but they hear all of this nonsense on television, and they're just frustrated about it. Politics just grabs you by the nose and it drags you right into the heart of things that you can't do anything about. Again, yes, you can vote, but at the moment, you're on fire. And that frustration is where emotions have to be controlled, baby. They have to be. When you come to this point, you're going to have to make the decision to control your emotions. I mean, there's some things you can't do anything about, and you have to accept that. I can't fix that. I can't fix stupid. I can't fix those things. And because if you don't, this is where you make bad decisions. So you have to make a decision about what direction you're going to go and what response you're going to have over things you can't do anything about. Otherwise, I'm just telling you something. You're going to quit jobs. You're going to quit marriages. You're going to quit fellowships with other people. Well, this is irritating me, and I don't know what to do anything about it. And you step out of line, and when you do, well, you know it's the truth. Many people, when they step out of line, they never find their way back. They don't. And if frustration is not dealt with, you know where it goes? Of course you know where it goes. It goes to rage. Rage. Well, I'll tell you, they become mean. They do, and they say things that's completely out of character for them as individuals. Now, come on, has that happened to you? Have you ever been to the place where something happened and you became so frustrated that you literally just blew up and you said things that later you thought, what was the matter with me? That's not like me. I don't feel that way. Well, the frustration has turned to rage. I mean, I saw a man set himself on fire in front of the White House because he was so frustrated. What kind of mental condition do you have to be to take that step? I mean, think about that. That's rage. And if you don't catch it, if you don't stop it, I'm telling you, people will avoid you like you have a plague, like you have a disease, because they don't want that. They don't want that in their life. They're afraid of it. They don't want their children around it. Stay away from that person. He's explosive. You never know what he's going to say. You never know when he's going to cuss somebody out. You know what I'm saying? Well, that's rage. And you know, after that happens, and again, I'm going through this process with you. When you allow that rage to just go unchecked, you'll think about situations that you can't do anything about, and you'll become bitter. You know, they've cooked in the juices of their frustration and rage, and they can't do anything about it. So they get what you would just call bitter of soul. Their countenance darkens. And of course, it turns to hate. Bitterness is something that's been held on to for a long time. I mean, people have held on to it for a long time. And the Bible even talked about in the book of Hebrews, chapter 12, it talked about the root of bitterness springing up and troubling you and defiling your life. It's meditation enlarges the root of that. You're thinking about it, and you just become bitter. But it literally said it will trouble you and it will defile your life. And it referred to it, that's what I thought was so interesting. It referred to bitterness as something that had a root. Now, what is a root? A root is a power source. It's a source that's lying under the surface. Now, as you know, roots, they don't directly manifest and make themselves known, but they're the source of nutrition or fuel for other elements that are on the surface. In other words, a root's job is not to manifest on the surface, but to brew under the surface and fuel the things that are on the surface. See, that's what bitterness will do. It'll get something down inside you, and it'll cause the things that are above ground that everybody sees just to become toxic and mean. Bitterness of soul. You ever see someone that's just bitterness? And actually bitterness, to me, it parallels with hopelessness. When you see people that are bitter, you usually find someone that's hopeless. They can't do anything about this, but they're just seething, like I said earlier, in the juices of that. And it's almost like a hopelessness that just screams out in rage. And it's toxic. And the Bible said there in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 31, it said, "Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you, and be kind to one another." So it's telling you to take charge of these emotions that are driving your life. It's making you into something. It's taking you somewhere that you don't need to be. I'm telling you, man, you're going to have to do it. You can't say, "Well, I'm bitter because of what's happened." I understand that. Maybe those events took you and brought you to this place, but the responsibility of all of these things has to do with your response. How are you going to respond? What are you going to do with this? Come on, man. You're going to have to let it go. You're going to have to release that. You're going to have to put it away from you. Make the decision that anger and wrath and bitterness and all of these things, that I'm putting this away from me. Because it gets in you. And literally, like I said a while ago, the term bitterness almost suggests like something you can taste. You think about something and just that bitterness, it comes up on the tongue. It comes up on the tongue. You know, it's easier for you to say things when you're bitter. You get this snide look, you get this slanted eyes look, and you say things that are cutting whenever you're bitter. you're snarky, you're sarcastic, it makes you that. Now, you don't want to be that. You're better than that. You don't need that in your life. You are a better person than that. And you got to make the decision. I'm not going there. I'm not going to let that be the sign that defines who I am. This is who Jerry Edmon is. He's explosive. He's angry. He's bitter. He doesn't like anybody. I don't want that to ever be said of me. And I a lot of times you can see where people are by looking at the bitter taste in their mouth, what they say. It doesn't take me very long. I can listen to you for just a couple of moments, whether it be politically or socially, or problems with your job, problems with your mate, problems with authority over you, police officials or whatever. It doesn't take me very long to find out where you're at, because that bitterness is on your tongue and it's cutting. It's not kind. It's angry. It pierces the heart. That's bitterness. That's what bitterness does. And when you hold on to that and you still can't do anything about it, you're going to become filled with hate. Suddenly now you hate that person. You hate them. And hate's a terrible place to be. People that are filled with hate, they are miserable people, and they're miserable to be around. People have created cultures of hate. I mean, it could be something as political, racial, religious, doesn't matter. People can just take an event, a group, a culture, and begin to create a venue whereby hate is expressed toward other people or other things. And that's so toxic. Can I just tell you this? That's toxic. You don't need that. And when you got people that are like that, you need to excuse yourself and get away. A culture of hate is something that breeds hate. It doesn't just stay right there. Like you drink the Kool-Aid, baby, and it's going to affect you. And one of the benefits of hate is that it allows you the opportunity to blame somebody else for your life. Well, I'm in the situation I'm in, and I hate them as a result of it. They threaten me, and I hate them. And when people allow hate in their heart, it doesn't stop there. It doesn't. It turns to evil. It becomes evil. Proverbs 10:12 said this: hatred stirs up strife. When you find people that are filled with strife, they've become people who have been filled with hate. Think about that for just a moment. Where you find strife and contention, I remember one scripture said, cast out the scorner and strife and contention will cease. When you have an individual that has this culture of hatred on the inside of them, they breed strife everywhere they go. You can feel it. It's tangible when they walk in the door. Do you know anybody like that? Now listen, man, if that's you, you need to stop it right now. You need to make some serious life decisions, because I promise you, you will never be successful. Success, that's simply going to be a fantasy to you. It ain't going to happen. Your life isn't worth a plug nickel when you walk around with hatred. You're toxic. You have destroyed everything around you, and you have created a culture of strife, and that comes from hatred. Wow. That's powerful, isn't it? Well, finally, like I just said a while ago, when people allow hate in their heart, it doesn't stop there. It turns to evil. Now that's sad. I don't even know what to say. That's sad. That's a horrifying thought, that I have become evil because I let some situation happen in my life that has morphed and grown and brought me to this place. See, hatred morphs into evil. and the evil that you allow to live, it'll eventually find its way into you and it'll destroy you. And at that point, when you become evil, you become dangerous. And that's just the bottom line. Evil people are dangerous. And you can, without conscience, destroy those with whom you're angry with. Hatred's only one step away from evil. Do you understand that? Come on, man, you got to allow yourself to say that. Well, I hate this. No, listen, hatred is only one step from evil. Are you sure you want to allow that into your life? I mean, it's a slippery slope, and it's a decision. You got to make the decision whether to go right or to go left. And it's only one step away. The cruel regime of Adolf Hitler is only an example of what evil can do and how it's ever expanding. It knows no boundaries. When a person becomes evil, it knows no boundaries. It just expands everywhere. I mean, you cannot afford to ever let evil live among you. You can't do it. The cup of revenge, it's never full. You know, when you get somebody, I've seen people hurt and say, well, I'm going to get them for that. I will remember. I will get them that. Well, it's never full. It's never full. And it's a thirst that cannot be quenched. It goes places. Evil, it becomes evil, and it's something that takes you someplace. And brother, I want to tell you, when it finds its place in you, it is a very cruel taskmaster. So here's the result. Are you ready? Can we begin to wrap this up and look at the results? What started out as an unresolved problem, that person now has become evil, and it breaks out in their life and it destroys their life. And it doesn't stop with just a relationship. It also breaks out in their body through sickness, through stress-related disease, and it destroys them and anybody who gets close to them. You gotta fix this, or you're going to end up losing the farm. Hello. You have got to fix this, or you're going to end up losing the farm. And you don't need to be doing that. I'm going to tell you something. Your life is more than that. It truly is. Your life is intended to be much more than that. So here's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to get some counseling. And that's one of the real frustrating things I think that I deal with when I'm looking at somebody they've got rage or anger or whatever the case is. They act as though they're not doing anything wrong. And I don't need counseling. I see married couples literally at the point of divorce. Now think about that. We look at divorce very lightly anymore. Well, everybody does it. So, I mean, it's almost like, I'm going to the grocery store. Well, I'm going to go get a divorce. And I see somebody and they say, I don't need counseling. I'm thinking, you don't need counseling? Have you lost your ever-loving mind? You don't need counseling? Can I just say this concerning counseling? Everybody needs counseling. Everybody. After you've gone through a year of all the stuff that you go through, sometimes it's important to go sit down with a counselor and let them defrag your life. You do that to your computer. Your computer gets so much traffic that sometimes it starts running slow and it's not operating right. You got to defrag it. That's the same thing in your life. And I would suggest to you that every year that you set up counseling with somebody, whether you feel like there's anything wrong with you or not, that you set up counseling and that you have them talk to you about your life. I mean, I need to talk to you about this. I'm not doing things as sharp as I was. And if you'll even look at it like this, some companies will literally set up and pay tens of thousands of dollars to have someone come into their company and analyze their company to say, what's making our systems run slow? Okay, what's messing with our systems here to where it's running slow? I need to get this thing fixed. So they'll come in, they'll say, you're doing this, and this. Okay, we're going to make some changes. Okay? Now, see, that's what I would say to you. Get some counseling with somebody that can tell you you're wrong without you trying to punch them in the nose. Come on, man. You're going to have to get some counseling that somebody says, you have a problem here, that you say, okay, maybe you're right. Tell me what I can do to fix this. See, that's the first step. If you'll just humble yourself a little bit, don't act like you know everything, because I'm just going to tell you something. You're so far from knowing everything that it's not even funny. I mean, well, really, when you get right down to it, you don't hardly know anything. I mean, it's a miracle you've even made it as far as you have. So don't get boastful to think, I know everything. Baby, you don't know everything. You don't. So what you need to do is to accept that and allow the counselor to say, you're doing this wrong. And for you to say, okay, I'm going to change it. I'm going to let go of things that maybe offended me. Now, you know what? In sports, if somebody gets cleated at second base, you know what they say to them? Come on, shake it off. What are they saying? They're saying, don't leave the game and go sit on the bench for the rest of the game because maybe somebody cleated you. But isn't that what we're saying to you today? Well, somebody hurt your feelings. Somebody stole something from you. Somebody disappointed you. Somebody molested you. And all of those are horrible, wrong things. And I'm not trying to justify what they're doing. They need to pay the consequences for what they're doing. But I'm talking about you. You're going to have to say, all right, I'm not going to get out of the game because I got hurt. I'm going to shake it off. When I was a little kid, I mean, even way back then, that's what they'd say to me. Come on, son, shake it off. Shake it off. Get back in the game. Well, I did. And so that starts with decisions. What decisions are you going to make? This is called what I call quality decisions. And so you can make a quality decision right now. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to understand what I can change, and I'm going to be responsible with that. And then I'm going to understand what I can't change. And there are some things that I can't fix. Therefore, what I've got to do is categorize that, put it in its place, and allow it to be there without affecting my life. See, I've got to also deal with another thing called trust. I trust that God is going to take care of me and He's going to sustain me. And trust is a big factor. Trust in the Lord, trust in your mate, trust in the people around you. But I'll tell you, the one that you can really trust is you. The reason why I can deal with things that's out of control is because I trust myself to make the right decisions when I'm confronted by something that is very frustrating. So I want to just say that it's time for you, if you have a problem with anger, or maybe you're going through things that are destructive in your life, it's time for you to take control of those things, and let's make a difference. Let's begin to move forward. And we do that by making the decisions that are going to be most effective in our life. And I think that's going to be important for you. I really believe that this is the time for you to change the course for your life. Come on, you want to do it. You need to do it. It's hurting you. It's time to stop. It's time to turn the other direction. It's time to go another direction. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to get some counseling and make the decision. Make the decision. I'm not going by my feelings. I'm going by a decision. I'm going to let it go. I'm going to understand what I can change, and I'm going to try to understand what I can't change, and I'm going to shake it off and stay in the game, okay? And that's very, very important for you to begin to do that, all right? Man, I've enjoyed being with you today. I truly have, and I'm looking forward to spending more time with you. I hope this has helped you today. I'd like you please to stay in touch with me. Let me know what you're going through. I'd like to maybe help you work through the things that I can help you with. And I believe that we can take your life into a place of great success. As a matter of fact, I believe your life is designed to be successful. All right? So let's go for a successful life. I'll talk to you next time. Go for it.
Thank you for joining us for this session of A Successful Life from the Jerry Edmon Podcast Network. Please make sure to check us out on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and Spotify. Once you're there, don't forget to let us know what you think by rating and reviewing this podcast. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Please visit our website at jerryedmon.com and find more content that will help you in your journey to a successful life.